All right, back on. Sorry about that, guys. Give everybody a minute to catch back up here. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. Hey, everybody's back on. Hey, what's up, Fred? Hey, sorry, I was on for a minute, and Cap and somebody else was on, and I lost them, so I just reconnected. Thanks for coming on, guys. First thing I was talking about was Amanda Nunes and Cris Cyborg. Amanda Nunes says she wants that fight. And I know Cris Cyborg says she didn't want to fight another Brazilian, but Dana White says we're going to make it happen. Cris Cyborg had for some reason put on her Twitter or Instagram, I can't remember which one it was, she was fighting Megan Anderson. And Megan Anderson came out and said, well, that's news to me. Apparently she's injured. And then Dana came out today to Yahoo Sports and said Amanda wants to fight Cris Cyborg, and we're going to make that fight as quick as possible. So I'm excited for that fight. I don't know what you guys think about that fight, but you know, Amanda's a big 135er. She probably walks around in a similar, similar weight, I would imagine, to Cyborg. Cyborg coming in at 145. She's probably cutting from 160. Amanda's probably cutting from the mid 150s. So I would say pretty close. So I think Amanda cuts a lot of weight just looking at her, I would imagine. But she's got that same kind of, same kind of bone structure, face structure and stuff. So that's going to be a crazy fight. For some reason, I just want to see Cyborg lose. I don't know why, but I just want to see her get knocked out. So I'm going for Amanda Nunes in that fight, but it's really hard to bet against Cris Cyborg right now. I don't know if Amanda's going to be fast enough. Even though Cyborg's going to come in heavier. She was way too fast for Holly Holm, and that was a lot of it. Holly Holm, I thought was impressive in if anything, keeping her from getting double underhooks and keeping her from getting that tie clinch for very long. And I thought that fight was a lot of fun. A lot of people thought it was boring, as well as a lot of people on here, but I got 28 subscribers from it, so that was nice. And there were some good fights that night, so thanks for everybody who tuned in to that fight. I don't know if you guys seen it today. Nick Diaz. Hey, what's up, Seven? How's it going, man? Nick Diaz in the news again, suspended again. Of course, Nick Diaz hasn't fought in, a couple of years. But he's still being tested because he's eligible to fight under USADA. So he's been suspended for what's called the whereabouts clause. And this was explained on Joe Rogan Experience a couple days ago from the head of USADA. And basically, they didn't know where Nick was 3 times. So they're looking at suspending him. And he said he wants to get with Nick and, figure out more about how they can track him better. But the guy hasn't fought in years. It's like, what's the difference between retiring and coming back, retiring and coming back? Who's to say GSP didn't go and get beefed up on steroids, and then come back? I mean, I don't know. I know he's not been a steroid guy, but what's interesting about that is Nick Diaz was tested a lot. He violated the whereabouts clause at least 3 times, and someone else ranked on the UFC roster was not tested once in 2017, and that's Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey says she's not ready to retire. She told Dana White, she said she still might have some fight in her. She wants to keep her options open, but she hasn't been tested for an entire year. So, I find that pretty interesting. It's kind of a double standard there. And obviously, Nick Diaz is always a target, but they better cash in on the Diaz brothers. UFC better pay Nate, and they better pay Nick and get him in there, because Conor McGregor's, jacking off as far as I'm concerned, walking around with his paper belt that he never defended against anybody. Might as well be a plastic belt this time. Yeah, he beat 2 legit champions. I won't take that away from him, but he's not defending it. So vacate, like Tony Ferguson says. And man, Khabib, the way he tore apart Edson Barboza, I can't wait to see Khabib and Tony Ferguson. And Dana says he wants to make that fight soon. He's going to give Conor a little more time. But he said Conor doesn't seem to want to fight till August. And the way Dana said was, if he wants to wait till August, September, then that's a problem. So maybe that means August is okay, but September isn't. I'm not sure. We all know, Conor McGregor kind of does whatever he wants. And he makes him a ton of money. He's got a whole country behind him. Whatever. I don't think he can beat either one of those fighters. I certainly don't think he's beating Khabib right now. I think Khabib's beaten anybody at 145. Khabib said he'd go down to 135. He wants to fight for a belt so bad. That's how disciplined this guy is. And his weight cut this time was magnificent. So I heard he's going to fight before March or gets stripped. That's what needs to happen. Because this is ridiculous. There's no reason for a champion to hold on to his belt. For the last, he won the belt in November of last year. So you're looking at 14 months he's been inactive. Yeah, you had a boxing match. That's not MMA. So I don't want to hear about your boxing match. That's something completely separate. That can be, as far as I'm concerned, that's as good as excuse as having a picnic or going on vacation. Because it's not part of the UFC. Head of USADA said some more things on JRE yesterday. If you weren't listening, says he believes John Jones may not have purposely did steroids. Now, John Jones has probably got, he's got about 3 months on what would be a mandatory suspension because they've been dragging this out so long. He could still be suspended for as much as 3 years, but nobody knows. Nobody knows exactly what it is. They're testing all these supplements, and now the head of USADA is saying that he believes that it may have been an accident. I mean, how many times has this guy been positive? I mean, I don't know. Obviously, he's got great incentive to do what the UFC wants. They've definitely cracked down on drug testing, and kudos to them for that. George St. Pierre had called him out on that. Boom. They finally got it, and George St. Pierre came back. Now, of course, George St. Pierre comes back. He beats Michael Bisping. Cherry picks up Michael Bisping. All of a sudden, he has colitis and can't fight at 185. Says he gained too much weight. But now he, his coach says that, that would be great for him to fight Conor. And the touch of that, Dana says, no way. It's absolutely not. So I'm glad that he said that, he wouldn't let him fight that. Of course, I think I said this before. He said he had his chance. He could fight either Roger Whittaker for the 185 or Tyron Woodley for the 170, which is very generous to give him shots at whatever title he wants. I mean, that's almost Conor-like rights. And he's a huge star. And he's got a country behind him, too. So, that's a big thing. Bellator, we got to talk about Bellator. Seems like they've been headed in the right direction. They've been signing a lot of big names last few years. Of course, Benson Henderson, Rampage Jackson, Roy Nelson, Paul Daly. Recently, Rory McDonald's probably their biggest signing. Czech Congo. There's been some big names in there. Of course, they got Chael when he came back, and now as a commentator as well. And they're building something there. They're really starting to build somewhat of a legitimate contender to the UFC. They're almost up kind of to where Strikeforce was before they got sold out. And now Bellator, starting on the 18th, is going to change their name to the Paramount Network. GSP Khabib at 170. Money the winner get Conor on undercard versus Tony Diaz back. Money. That would be big. That would be big. You know what? They're the same size. I hadn't even thought of that, really. well, Khabib's not the same size. I mean, he fights at 145. I don't know why I'm saying that, but he just looks so damn big. That's got to be why I'm saying that. But they could fight. They could fight. Khabib's definitely a lot bigger than Conor. That would screw him up to go back up to 170, though, because they'd have to fight at 170. I can't see GSP dropping down after fighting at 185. And Khabib goes back up to 170. I don't see him ever being able to drop back down to 145. That's too difficult on your body. Unless he just comes in at walk-around weight. I mean, I guess if he's walking around at 165 and comes in at 170, yeah, but he's not going to be as strong. He's not going to be as strong as he usually is. He's going to be carrying more body fat. So, water weight, different things. But, damn, Khabib is massive, though. And Khabib is so strong. If he can make 170... he might be able to take GSP down anyways, even though he probably would be at a size disadvantage. That guy's the best grappler out there right now. Man, I would love to see Khabib and GSP. The only other fight that I really want to see GSP right now is I want to see Ben Askren come in the UFC and embarrass GSP and then retire. Because, Ben Askren pissed off Dana White. But Bellator dropped him, said he was a boring fighter. He goes over to ONE FC, does really great. GSP, Nick, and Nate need to fight T-Wood. Yeah, Nick's already beat him. Nick's already beat T-Wood over in Strikeforce. I think Nate matches up well with him. I don't know how well GSP matches up with him. That's the funny thing about MMA math. It's like we all know, GSP beat Nick pretty dominantly, and there's no reason to believe that it would be a whole lot different now. Nate's a similar style fighter. Nick didn't fight T-Wood. What am I thinking of over in Strikeforce then? He didn't fight Tyron Woodley in Strikeforce? Well, that's embarrassing. If I messed that up, I apologize. I was really sure that Nick had fought Tyron Woodley over in Strikeforce. I must be mixing him up with somebody else. Daly. Yeah, I did fight Paul Daly. I do remember that. That was Nate Marquardt. He fought Daly. Oh, yeah. Well, he fought Nate Marquardt, too. He was juiced up. Nate Marquardt was always juiced up. God, that guy's huge. He finally just retired. I can't believe that was even an announcement. I couldn't believe that he was still fighting. I did have the pleasure to see him knock out Damian Maia in Portland at the first UFC I went to, though. That was interesting. But other than that, yeah, Nate Marquardt. I mean, he had some skills, but he was obviously juiced for a long time. Jones might get off. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Mitchell Jones might get off. The head of USADA said that. He could be off for as much as 3 months. Says that he believes that Jones could have accidentally taken steroids, which is absolutely crazy. To me, that's absolutely crazy. Jones, oops, excuse me. Sorry, Jones has proof that it was an accident. He doesn't. Cap says, yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. They're testing, from what I heard, is they're testing a ton of different supplements. Like tons and tons of different supplements. And why are they allowed to do that? It's like the UFC really wants to get him off. Because what they need to do is when a fighter's come and say, hey, what supplements are you using? Okay, let's test these supplements. No, you don't get to go out on the market and keep on testing supplements until something tests positive. Because we all know there's a huge list on the USADA website that tells you that they have banned substances. Not only that, USADA will tell you what supplements you can use, and the UFC will give it to the fighters for free. They can go to the UFC training facility and get supplements for free. So, I mean, I understand everybody doesn't want to train the same way, but here's a crazy thought. before we get into all the drug testing and everything, they're doing all these, random follow-alongs. They're going to come to your house and knock on your door. How about while you're training, you have to divulge in advance what supplements you're using. Then USADA can look at those and they can say, hey, they can test them and say, hey, this substance, you're going to test positive. So don't use that substance. Boom. We don't have to worry about this anymore. Why is that so hard? I don't understand why they're not doing that. The only reason is for the UFC to be able to have objectivity, in my mind, and total control. Because they could easily, when they're doing these, some of these fighters were tested 14 times. It's insane seeing the before and after records of USADA. Oh, Jesus. Look at Vitor. Holy shit. Vitor went from, like He-Man to Skeletor in no time. That was an insane transformation. JDS hasn't looked the same, which is kind of crazy. Machida doesn't look the same. Yeah, a lot of these guys, and I know I mentioned a lot of our Brazilians, but a lot of Brazilians are coming up and getting popped. It's not just Brazilians, but of course, John Jones has been popped several times, Brock Lesnar, Chael Sonnen, a lot of these other guys. But yeah, after USADA's come in with this better training, now Anderson Silva's got popped. That was really disappointing to me. Yeah, fuck steroid users. I love Nick and Nate on that. They ask them who's using steroids. Fucking everybody's using steroids. Take that shit over to Risen. Yeah, Risen's not testing for anything, apparently. I hate to say it because I'm a fan, but Weidman, too, looked different. I didn't think about that. You're right, and his performance has gone downhill since then. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, he definitely has looked different. He's looked different. He's performed different. He's getting back into it. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of guys are gonna come, and I mean, of course, you got guys like the Reem that have been, pissing hot forever. But he was over there in Pride. And yeah, Risen, they're not testing for anything. God damn it. Yeah, to me, Anderson Silva stands like a stand-up guy, too. I ain't no fan of Weidman, but I think he might be clean. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It says, yeah, that's why I hate to say that. Yeah, he does seem like a stand-up guy to me. I like Chris Weidman. He comes down there with the American flag, does his thing. Seems like an awesome dude. But yeah, you never know. A lot of awesome dudes have taken steroids. Randy Couture was, there was rumors out there for years that Randy was juiced. Obviously, the testing wasn't near what it is now. But, Randy was fighting until he was 46 years old. It's hard to believe that he wasn't taking something. And I think he might have overlapped somewhere in that time where they were letting him take TRT. Wasn't that crazy? TRT Vitor. They let these guys take TRT legally. And then, you think Randy overrated? For the time, no. I think he was a legend in his time. And I think you just gotta, it's hard to compare those guys to today's guys. Yeah, I hate Belfort's cheating ass too. Yeah, that's... I used to like him when he was young, but yeah, I think he was cheating the whole time. God, I think he was juiced when he was 18 years old, coming in there against Tank Abbott like a freaking hurricane. But yeah, no, Randy and Chuck, I think they stand the test of time. I think it's like going back and talking about like Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle. Could they come back in baseball and play today? Honestly, I don't think so. I don't think most of those guys could. We're supposed to be advancing. Even Mike Tyson said this, he's like, we're supposed to be advancing every generation. He said the fighters of this generation are better than I was. I don't know about that. Brock versus Nagano. That would be crazy. That'd be two huge guys. I think Nagano would kill him, or however you spell. It's pretty close. I think there might be two N's, but I'd have to be looking at it. Yeah, Francis would kill him easily. I agree with you on that, Cap. I think he would destroy him. But, yeah, I don't know. But Bellator changing to Paramount Network. I'm going to switch gears for a second. Sorry. What a stupid name. Spike Network switching to Paramount. So now it's Bellator on Paramount. That doesn't sound like an MMA channel. It doesn't sound like a man channel. It doesn't sound like any kind of channel that I want to watch. Sounds like Lifetime, and they're going to show Little House on the Prairie and a bunch of pussy shows. I'm sorry. And then they go and get rid of Jimmy Smith. That is crazy. If you guys haven't watched a lot of Bellator, Jimmy Smith's one of the best commentators in all of MMA. And apparently they came to him and told him, you're going to have to take a huge pay cut. I mean, like, huge pay cut. And he said it was substantial enough that he couldn't stick around. And that's what he said. And these guys think that they can just shove any jackass in there to commentate. Jimmy Smith, cool, but UFC commentators, great commentators already. Yeah, they do have great commentators already. Maybe he goes to Risen. I don't know where he goes to. I hope he lands on his feet. You know, I always liked Goldie, like Mike Goldberg, but I mean, you know, his flaws were obvious. So at least they still have Morrow. Yeah, Morrow's good. And yeah, you know, Goldberg's flaws were obvious, but Jimmy Smith he was a solid guy. So yeah, that's going to be a huge loss for them. I'm learning a lot just from watching Jimmy Smith and Joe Rogan and realizing how horrible my commentating is starting out for some of the fight companions I've had. So I'm going to study and listen to them a little more. I got some good advice from Joe yesterday. Goldberg had the fakest smile and laugh. Yeah, he did. You know why I enjoy doing this? And those guys were talking about this. And I know I'm really new at this. I have some MMA knowledge, I think, but I really love the sport. And I like Mike Goldberg. I'm not sure that enthusiasm was always genuine. And yeah, like you say, the smile and the laugh. And I mean, he was an entertainer. I think he could have done the same thing if it were baseball or basketball or WWE wrestling. I think he could have got the same amount of excitement. It's like Rick Eisman. DC and Joe always being themselves. It seems Goldberg tries too hard. Yeah, DC is a very good commentator. I am very impressed with DC. You can tell that he is very relaxed now. He's very comfortable. He's really enjoying himself, and he's really into the broadcast. He is definitely one of the best commentators out there right now. Definitely the best commentator for a former fighter. Solid dude. So yeah, I don't know if he's gonna leave or he's gonna join. You know, the UFC, like you guys said, they probably have enough good commentators over there. I agree with that. I'd like to see him anywhere. If I wanted to see anybody come to the UFC before Jimmy Smith, it would be Boss Rutten. I love Boss Rutten from the old Pride days. And he needs to be commentating over there in Risen. And they need to have Risen on US TV at a time that we can watch it, not 2 o'clock in the frickin' morning. But I see I'm losing some people this week. Sorry, guys. I've been kind of sick and no excuse, but this isn't my best show. But I am going to do my awards for 2017. I'm going to do Fight of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Submission in the Year, and Comeback Fighter of the Year. And you guys can tell me if you agree with these or disagree or who your guys are. Fighter of the Year, we all watched it together, or everybody that was watching with me, Alex Oliveira and Yancy Medeiros. I can't see a better fight last year. That was a hell of a fight. Knockout of the Year, I don't see how you can't give it to Nagano versus Alistair Overeem. I mean, Ngannou took his head off, took him literally off the frickin' ground. And I've seen some certain lists on there. I've seen different names for all of these on different lists, but these are the ones that stood out to me. Submission of the year, I have to go with DJ versus Ray Borg. I thought that was a beautiful submission by Demetrius Johnson. And comeback fighter of the year, I'm going to say Rafael dos Anjos after that performance against Lawler. He looked really good. He's back. He is definitely back. I seen later it said Lawler had a ton of injuries. Fighter of the year, Max or DJ? Cap. Actually, my fighter of the year is Francis Ngannou, but I gave him knockout of the year and fighter of the year. I know that's arguable, but in my mind, he did something that nobody's done in a long time, and he brought an excitement to the fight game that I really can't think of seeing since maybe Chuck Liddell. Or at least, you know, when John Jones first came out and destroyed Mauricio Shogun Rua. I mean, this guy could be like Mike Tyson to MMA. And does that mean that he was the most skilled fighter of 2017? To me, that's not what I'm saying, but I think he was the most important fighter of 2017. I love Francis, but I would give him Breakout Star of the Year. Yeah. Yeah, if I did a Breakout Star of the Year, he'd be Breakout Star of the Year too. But, yeah, and all those guys are good choices. Only fought once, 2017. Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know. Like you said, I mean, it could be Demetrius Johnson. It could be DC's next opponent, Ozdemir. That guy had a hell of a year. So, yeah, definitely arguable. You know, that's just my opinion, my favorite for the year. I thought he came out and, you know, set the stage for the heavyweight division. But fighting only once, yeah, I can see how you would feel that way. He got a title shot out of it, though. And, you know, he steamrolled a lot of success from the year before. You know, parlayed that. But what about Ozdemir? You know, for Breakout Star of the Year. He was very good too. Knocked out Jimmy Manawan in a couple seconds. Yancey versus Cerrone going to be good. That's going to be awesome. I wanted to see Medeiros and Oliveira rematch. Love Francis, though. He's my top 5 favorite fighters. Yeah, I agree with you on that, Cap. And, you know, I agree my thinking could be a little flawed on that. Maybe I'm just a little excited on the Francis bandwagon right now. But, yeah, Yancey versus Cerrone is going to be a really good fight. Those guys both always come to fight. They never back down. They're always coming forward. So I don't see that fight being a boring fight at all. And I really wanted to see Yancey Medeiros versus Oliveira rematch. But I'll definitely take Cerrone. That's going to be really good. And I'm going to do a fight companion for that. And I'm going to have my alpha brain for that one. I think that's what my focus is off a little bit today. Not a plug for alpha brain, but maybe a little bit. It works. It helps my focus. It's been a long day, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. But I will be doing the FS1 fight between Yancey and Donald Cerrone. Thanks, guys. Catch you later. Have a good week.